I'm Emily Brown, and I graduated from Miami in 2007 with a degree in interdisciplinary studies, but I also double majored in women's studies. It was really easy as a student to see how interdisciplinarity worked, because for my focus, gender and globalization, I had to take a lot of different classes that were in themselves interdisciplinary, even if they weren't within the interdisciplinary division. Women's studies tends to be kind of that way too, in the way that they draw connections on everything. So you take a gender and politics course where you're talking about body image, and you're talking about stereotypes between men and women politicians, and you're drawing from economic theory, and you're drawing from political theory, and you're drawing from feminist theory. So I think that interdisciplinary studies kind of enabled me to branch out of the take this course, and take this course, and then blah, blah, blah. You know, here's your degree in a handbag. And it kind of challenged you to seek out courses that were gonna push the box a little bit. I've been living in Washington, D.C. for the past 2 years since graduation, and I'm now going back to school at George Washington University in D.C. for international development studies, which actually relates a lot to my first degree in interdisciplinary studies, because what my focus was then was essentially international development. So in my senior thesis, I went back to Nicaragua. I saw women being involved in globalization and projects, international development projects. I saw that to be very important, because women are generally more poor than men. And the Women's Sewing Cooperative, which we visited when we were in Nicaragua, just stood out to me. So I kind of latched onto the Women's Sewing Cooperative, investigated it a little bit more. And it was just so exciting that these women started out as poor, living somewhere where there was no access to water, no access to food. They didn't have much shelter. They didn't have enough money to send their children to school, because their children had to work in order to bring in money. And then 7 years later, they not only are working full time and making money, and they know where their next paycheck's coming from. Not only that, they own the enterprise that they work in. So I saw that as being a realization of all of these things coming together, a realization of international development joining with gender and joining with economics to provide a space where these women, they could have control over their own destinies. They could not only have enough money to provide for their children and send them to school, they also had enough money to save and to think about their lives and all sorts of their well-being, essentially. I would like to implement projects like the cooperative elsewhere, probably staying in Central America. Maybe not necessarily cooperatives, but projects that work like that one does, that bring in all those different aspects and empower and engage poor people in taking on control over their economic security.